Hello and welcome to the SES Network Plus Industrial Secondment Fund briefing session online. Those that did attend the briefing, which happened yesterday, might realise that this is not what happened, but unfortunately the recording failed after about 5 minutes, so I'm re-recording the event so I can post these online. So hopefully everybody else can get a good idea of what was discussed from these, and I'll just run through the same slide deck. Hopefully you can all see the slides. And yes, welcome. So this is Sustainable Solar Energy System Network Plus, and today is the Industrial Secondment Fund briefing session for applicants who might wish to apply for the fund. In the first few minutes, I'm just going to tell you a few things about the network, which is formed to develop a practical skills-based coalition between academia and industry to aid the implementation of solar PV in the UK. We're led at Loughborough University, and we have academic partners at Lancaster University, Newcastle University, and the University of Southampton, and we're funded by the EPSRC. You can join the membership for free. It's open to everybody. Just scan the link there, and it gives you access to all the SES Network Plus events and opportunities, and you get a regular newsletter from me with information about all these events, initiatives and opportunities that might be of interest to those working in the solar PV research space. We do have a range of opportunities designed to help early career researchers in solar PV, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about those now. The first category of those is enabling funding. We have innovation support program, which is coming soon, and that's intertwined with the skills workshops, which are also coming soon, targeted at specific areas of the solar space. And we have the International Travel Fund, which round one closed recently, and we'll have call two coming up very soon with an announcement in the early summer, with probably a deadline towards September, and you can apply for £500 towards making a visit to an international conference or training event. Also, we've got the Industrial Secondment Fund, and the call is open. I'll tell you all about that. And a continually open call is our childcare fund, where we can offer to offset any childcare costs that you might have in attending one of the SES Network events or sponsored events that might be happening. We've also got some events and initiatives to enhance skills and career development. The skills development workshops will be announced soon, and we're planning to have between 6 and 8 of those over the course of the next 18 months in specific targeted areas of solar PV. And we've got a mentoring program, which we're just in the mentor recruitment phase of now, and I'll tell you a little bit more of that in 1 second. We do have coming today, as it is now, a webinar on BIPV in the UK. There's a link to join there. There will be a recording of that available, so if you wish to look at it, so do please have a look. We'll have another webinar announced coming up soon in the field-based agrivoltaics, which should be a big area of potential growth over coming years as land use optimization is a serious cause of concern for everybody involved. And that's coming up on the 15th of July. And again, there's a link there, and you can sign up for that. As promised, the details of our mentoring program. This is a recruitment flyer for mentors. So we're going to hopefully recruit a cohort of mentors to be able to offer to potential ECRs who would like to be mentored by them. We recruit mentors at the moment, and once we've got a cohort, we will open the program to applications for early career researchers to be part of the mentoring scheme. If you are interested in mentoring, scan the link there and tell us about yourselves. Okay, so this is why we're here today. The SES Network Industrial Secondment Fund. So the aim is to allow applicants to develop solar-specific skills through internships in the solar industry. The SES network will support travel and accommodation and subsistence costs. The deadline, which is more of a cut-off than a deadline, to be honest, is on the 12th of September. And we've responded to people who suggested that they might want to build secondments that happen over this summer, and that deadline was obviously a bit late for that. So we will be responding to any applications that come in before then that may have a early schedule, and we will look to make a funding decision on those on an ad hoc basis. So if you do have an opportunity for a internship that could take place over this summer, do please put an application in as soon as you can, and we will review it as soon as we can and give you some idea of an outcome on that. So just to review the goals of the scheme. So what we want to do is to help interactions between UK-based early career researchers. Okay, so what's an early career researcher? That can be a master's student, a PhD student, a postdoctoral worker, or a new lecturer who's working in UK academia, registered or employed at a UK university. And we want to help them to interact with industrial partners across the solar PV industry. So that could be inside or outside of the UK. And we'd like to develop projects that focus on providing opportunities for ECR skills development and experience building in collaboration with industry. They may be achieved in many different ways. And while I'm going to show you some examples, we are open to innovative approaches that don't particularly fit the models that we suggested. So here are some example types. So you could have, let's say, industry is interested in working with a university that on a topic that solves a problem of theirs that might have involved in it an exchange of personnel, either from academia to industry or vice versa, to work together. That's a fairly obvious one. But the ECR might well have ideas of themselves. Let's say, for example, you're thinking about applying for a fellowship in the future, and you'd like to get some preparatory work done for that with industry. And you could drive that as an ECR, and you could be looking to be embedded as an industrial partner for an extended period of time. It could be a short period of time, like a one-day visit, or 3 months. So another alternative, it might enable the early career researcher to make travel visits or exchanges that could be not necessarily to the industrial partner you're working with, but to a third party in order to undertake some project work. Particular interest of the SES network is for those projects that might encourage historically marginalised or disadvantaged societal groups to engage with solar PV. So you could imagine you might go and see a community group or a government organisation or a third sector organisation to be able to facilitate that. There also the possibility where you might have to undertake travel elsewhere, for example, field trials or a data collection site. So that could be just a regular trip down to a local field site, or it could be outside of the UK, several trips to, let's say, for example, sub-Saharan Africa. Also, there's a possibility that you might want to travel to a particular site to develop a analysis, conceptualization, programming, modeling, or prototyping thing that you've got in mind in collaboration with an industrial partner. You might need to go to a third site for some sort of purpose to enable that project to happen. And there's also, we are encouraging projects that engage with a wider public or respond to societal needs. So you might call that outreach, if you like. So if you would like to do some outreach projects and might need to travel for that, then the scheme is open for that kind of idea. And lastly, thinking maybe there might be circumstances where an industrial researcher comes to a UK university, let's say, for example, to access some sort of facility that the university might have available, and in doing so has the opportunity to work with early career researchers at that institution. Just a few key points. Now, the first one is quite important. So when we issue a grant, we do need to pay it to somebody at a UK university. So that person who is the lead applicant needs to be in a position that allows them to be a budget holder. So that's an employee. Usually, if it's a small grant like this one might be, a postdoc will be able to be a budget holder at their university. So that's okay, but unfortunately students are unlikely to be able to be budget holders, so the lead applicant will therefore be a supervisor. But it does need to be somebody at a UK university, even if the application is theoretically industry-led. The industry can be, as I've said, in the UK or internationally. There's no barrier there. There's also no minimum cost barrier. So if you've got an idea that involves just a single train trip there and back to go and see somebody, then that's fine, just a few £100. But we're envisaging the maximum amount that you might apply for would be in the region of around about 5,000, which you might imagine will cover a 3-month secondment in industry. That kind of magnitude of project is what we're looking for as a maximum. To be clear, the scheme will not fund any costs of employment. So that includes salary, various overheads and estates and indirect or similar costs that universities apply. And there will be none of that in the grant for the ECRs or other participants. We will consider consumable items as part of the grant in exceptional circumstances where you're engaged with, for example, charities or not-for-profit organisations or government agencies that don't have a funding source that can provide consumable items, but we would usually expect industry to be able to find a little bit of money to make, perhaps some samples or something like that that they might want to work with an ECR. The awards are payable to the institution of the awardee at 100% of full economic cost. So there's no expectation of any match funding from the university, which hopefully brings down a barrier that there might be for sign off in terms of finance. The only exception to this is that those charges that might be associated with access to university facilities are standard funded at 80% FEC. That's the usual financial model that these kind of facilities use. So we don't intend to fund them at 100%, just 80%. And the last point to make is that the scheme does actively encourage the use of low carbon transport where possible. So we'll do consider ways in which the carbon footprint of the necessary travel you make might be reduced. Just to talk about how you apply for that, to mention that all of the applications will be anonymised by removing details of the applicant and their institution, any supervised details, prior to review by our grants review committee. And yeah, do please keep that in mind when you're putting your application together. And it will be my task to redact all of that personal information. So if you can sort of maybe identify people once and then refer to them as ECR1 or ECR2 or that sort of thing throughout, that'd be helpful for me personally. So how do we review them? How does the grants review committee review them? They're looking at those 5 points there. So firstly, the technical quality, contribution to the skills and experience of the early career researchers, potential impact of the outcomes of the secondment, the level of industry involvement, and the use of low carbon transport for travel arrangements are all the 5 things that will be marked. Successful applicants will be notified if they're not applying for an early start. They'll be notified in October, and what happens then is I will issue a purchase order to the university, and you pass that on to your finance team, and the funds are held in much the usual way in a charge code, which you will then be able to claim on. Now, the recipient institution submits an invoice back to us based on actual expenditure, which means that the money has to be seen to be spent on the project and on the project only. So the universities are usually have no problem about putting a cost statement together for your charge code when it goes back to an awarding institution like ourselves. That's got to be done before the project closure to our funder, and we have just a 30-day window after the 31st of December to finalise the finances of this project. And so your finance team will be able to put in a cost claim as soon as you have finished spending the money, and it cannot be spent after the 31st of December 2026. And thereafter we will pay the invoicing. Okay, how to make an application. We're using Microsoft Forms, so hopefully it's fairly simple and accessible. You can use the immersive reader if that is helpful to you. And the form is in 4 parts. First is just personal details of the lead applicant. We have a EDI info section, so please do opt in and help us collect data that we anonymously report back to EPSRC about the nature of our network. Page 3 is all about the industry partners that you're working with, and the real meat of the application, when you're going to have to put some descriptive detail in, is all on page 4. So fill that in, make sure you're a SES Network Plus member, and then submit it. So once it's in your forms, you should be able to edit and resubmit later if required. It should save and be accessible to you up until the deadline of the scheme. So if you do want to have another crack at it and resubmit, that's no problem. I will take the later version that is still in forms on the 12th of September. One thing that's not particularly marked as such is cost and travel. So I just wanted to give you an idea about how to express those. Make sure it matches with your project plan. You will have in your university a research support, and you can go and get help with estimating costs for your project should you require it. Particular advice that I give you is don't underestimate. While the reviewers might be considering the value for money, what we want to see is a realistic approach to making the project work. So don't scrimp on travel or accommodation. Make sure you will have enough money to undertake the project. There will usually your own institution will have its own day rates for subsistence, so do make yourself aware of those and apply accordingly. And for university facilities access, which is either usually on an hourly or sample rate basis, please check with those facility managers about the rates and get an estimation of how many hours or samples you might be requiring and get a cost from them. As I said, consumables, we're looking for those to be industry contributions apart from charities, government, not-for-profit, third sector collaborators. Okay, so I want to just run through how we're going to be marking your applications. And the first of those bullet points that we marked is the technical quality. So what we're looking for here is an informed and coherent description of the activities of your project in combination with a well-realized schedule for your planned exchanges. And it goes in section 4 of the Microsoft form, as I've said, and some tips. Please drill down a little beyond a high-level plan so that you're describing each individual element of the planned work, rather than just say we're going to just discuss things at high level and this is what we're going to achieve. We want to see some details so we can see how you're going to get there in individual stages. In doing so, we're expecting that you'll be able to demonstrate a knowledge of the technical state of the art of your particular area, and you'll discuss some of the challenges involved and how you might hope to overcome those. Because we're in Microsoft Forms, you won't be able to use a Gantt chart or anything like that you might be used to using, but what you can do is possibly list activities in terms of weeks or months of the project, however appropriate it is to the length of the project, and just set out what happens. And do set out clearly who goes where in the exchanges. So the second section of ranking is on the potential contribution to the skills and experience of early career researchers. So we are here looking for evidence of how secondment will contribute to skills, experience, or career development in particular. If I can give you some tips about that, consider ways that skills transfer could happen when you're undertaking technical activities. And there might be some skills gaps that the industry has identified that could be filled in some way by the secondment project you're planning. And do explain how experience and skills could give the career researchers involved in the project some sort of career advantage. Okay, the third section of ranking will be potential impact of the outcomes of the secondment on the growth of sustainable solar energy systems and applications. And we're looking here for you to set out the key goals of the project and their relevance to the sustainable solar energy systems. And in doing so, I'd urge you to consider outputs and outcomes. Outputs, they're the things that directly come out of a project. So that might be the making or analysis of a sample, production of a report, that sort of thing. And it's there at the end of the secondment project. But the outcomes are more longer term, and you can discuss those at greater length there. So what impact might these new set of data or new report or new activity have in the longer term? So please do, as well as just simply putting down the outputs of the project, consider the outcomes. And those outcomes there should link in, hopefully, to potential contributions to the growth of solar in the UK. And all of this could be based on technical stuff like the data from samples or experiments, or it could be in terms of skills development. So consider both routes there. The fourth area is how you're going to get industry involved in the secondment. And we're just looking to hear about how the secondment will support the activities of the industrial partner. I would suggest you start with a brief description of the activities of the industrial partner and their particular area of solar PV, and consider any challenges that the secondment might address. And again, that could be skills-based or technically based. And the last point of ranking is the use of low carbon transport. What we're looking for here is evidence of carbon literacy. Now, if you're at an institution like Loughborough, which is just at the moment rolling out its sustainable travel strategy, then you'll be hearing a lot about this throughout your own institution in the near future. So we're looking for an awareness of carbon costs and impacts of everyday activities, such as making travel for work purposes. Consider your plans in mind, with this in mind, and just tell us about any positive steps or choices you can take. So in the UK, if you're traveling in the UK, that's really quiet. There's not so many options you're going to have here, which, apart from making sure you use public transport where you can, and if you've got to hire a car to go to somewhere, try and choose an electric one if you can. And outside of the UK, that becomes the choices are very much more marked here. So if you are going to Europe, then rather than taking a very carbon expensive short-haul flight, Eurostar is a distinct possibility there, very accessible. If you do have to take a long-haul flight for your project, then do consider the options that do not have connecting flights, so all the carbon is spent at takeoff. So please try and use a direct flight where you can. Various airlines have, for example, carbon offset schemes, or they might use a percentage of sustainable airline fuel, or have new aircraft that are more efficient. So do please note which airline you're choosing. And if you need to undertake any kind of transport, rather than just jumping in the first taxi you see, take public transport, or investigate which towns, cities have electric taxis available. So those are just some of the ideas that you might be able to talk about. Yesterday, when I did this, we had a Q&A session. So I'm going to stop the recording there, and thank you all for your time and wish you all best of luck with your application.